ready to go.
All right, everybody, welcome to today is December the 13th, 2016 at 7 p.m. Bardstown City Council member, and go to number one, to recognize groups and individuals. But what I'd like to do is go ahead and invite Donnie Gill and Tammy Moore, and they are with the Lincoln Trail Health Department, I guess, the Health District. And if you would like to come up and they want to talk about the syringe.
No, we're not going to do any talking, sir. They're just here on behalf in case there's any questions.
Oh, okay.
They're just here to witness the resolution.
Okay.
Right, sorry.
Right.
Mayor,
I thought they wanted to say something,
remind us,
so I'll let Councilman Williams have it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We had someone give a presentation several months ago regarding the needle exchange program, and they're just basically here this evening to answer any questions we may have, because I know we have a resolution on the agenda that I'm totally supporting, so.
Well, I'll let them do this where they can, if you need the same thing, I'll move it to number, if it's okay with the council, I'll move it to number one and do the resolution and get this, then that way they don't have to stay to the end of the meeting. Is that okay with you guys?
And on behalf of the council, I'd like to introduce the resolution with the title and then go straight to the resolution side instead of reading all the whereases, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. All right. R2201609, a resolution regarding the creation of a syringe access exchange program. Be it resolved on this date, the 13th of December 2016, that the Bardstown City Council believes that a syringe access exchange program would reduce the risk of spreading infectious disease through the availability of sterile drug injection equipment for the above stated reasons. And let it be further resolved that the Bardstown City Council approves the Lincoln Trail District Health Department to develop an evidence-based phased syringe access exchange program in Bardstown to prevent and control the spread of communicable diseases associated with injection drug use, and in so doing, advance the public safety of the city of Bardstown. And let it be further resolved that the program implementation and progress shall be reviewed by the Lincoln Trail District Administrative Staff and the District Board of Health.
Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to approve resolution R 2016-09 regarding the creation of a syringe access exchange program, and I yield the floor for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Copeland. Discussion? There's no discussion? Well, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
What is as far as the cost, is there any cost to the city taxpayers for this?
No, it comes from our public health dollars. Will not cost you.
Okay. Do you have the numbers of like, say where the rise of infectious diseases, let's say HIV, others, do you have say from where it was from 10 years ago to what it is now? Do you have any numbers?
We do have some numbers as recent as 2014. Nelson County, your hepatitis C rates are above the state average. And you know, hepatitis C is associated with the sharing of needles. And it's above the national average as well.
What is the most?
Those numbers come from 2014. Let's see. You increased from 2.7 per 100,000 in 2007 to 8.9 per 100,000 in 2014. And that's the most recent data we could get from the Centers for Disease Control.
Is hepatitis C, is that what is most common in Nelson County right now? And do you have them ranked like hepatitis C or HIV? You have it ranked?
I would say the most common as far as STD is gonorrhea and chlamydia, and then probably Hep C and HIV. But that's hard to tell because so many people are not tested, and that's one of the things that they'll do at this needle exchange. They will offer and do testing So that is a really good thing, because I've had several people stop in at the health department and ask for clean needles. And I was not able to give those to them, and it caused a lot of frustration on their part and my part. And they basically left saying that they were just going to go use their dirty needles or wherever they could find them, you know, which causes all kinds of like HIV, Hep C. It causes all kinds of skin infections, and those people ultimately end up in our ERs, and then, you know, that costs the taxpayers a lot of money. So,
And if we say there's one life to this program, it's worth it.
Absolutely. And people who access needle exchange programs are 5 times more likely to seek treatment, because they're going to come in and we're going to see them repeatedly, form a rapport with them, and start planting the seeds for treatment. And then maybe one day they have that kind of light bulb moment where they're tired of living that lifestyle and they seek help.
and you'll have a counselor with you, right,
Yes.
from Communicare. So they will always have access while they're there to mental health. Which is another great thing, because if you get them in the right stage, then, you know, you could possibly save a life. And it's better than doing nothing, which is kind of what I feel like is going on now. You have to start somewhere.
We have a motion by Councilman Williams and a second by Councilman Copeland. All in favor? Those opposed? Ayes. Motion is adopted. Thank you. Do appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, let's go back up. Now I can, we'll go with receive or recognize groups or individuals. Pat, you had your hand up? Okay. We was in the middle of a motion, that's why I couldn't call on you.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Anything else from the public? No? Go to bids, contracts, proposals. The downtown SSES TV and clean project, the change order. I guess you all have seen that.
It seems pretty straightforward to me. I'll make a motion to approve the change order for the sum of $18,908.15 for the sewer clean out and inspection.
I'll second it.
Have a first and a second is on the floor. All in, discussion? Okay. All in favor? Those opposed?
No? Is that a no, Mr. Simpson?
No.
Oh, thank you.
The other one is Kevron's a professional service contract. I guess you guys have seen that. That is for the, is that for the water plant? Is that what that's for? Yeah.
For the chloramine transfer over.
That's where we're going to start transferring
Which is
from
something-
chlorine to chloramine.
Yeah, which is something we put in the budget.
It's community input at this point in time. Basically, we had requested proposals for engineering services, and we went through the selection process and selected Combines. And this is just going through that process of formally authorizing them to execute the work. And their fees are going to follow the rural development fee curves and everything associated that are recommended that we follow, especially if any outside lending agencies, KA organizations are going to be looked at for funding, which I think we have the intent to do so. So we want to make sure we follow those processes. So your agreement, if there's a question about why there's not a dollar figure set for the design list at this point, it's based upon the actual construction costs of the project. So it's percentage based. So if the project, and before you design it, you don't have a good feel for what that percent, a hard number, what that's gonna be yet. But that way it keeps the project from, in the design expenses, fair. And there's a whole scale and percent scale based on the value of that. The more expensive the project, those percentages start kind of going down a little bit.
And the project is going to take a year or so to complete.
Correct. We anticipate Convirons beginning preliminary design work almost immediately. They're already in the process of gathering existing water plant plans for what infrastructure we have existing at the plant, in-ground piping and so forth, in order to get that design set up. And probably within the next couple of months, they'll move on with final design that will then go to the Division of Water for approval, and we'll have a construction estimate at that time, and then look to start the loan process as well. My goal is to have, to be able to maybe bid the project this time next year, maybe even sooner, but we'll kind of watch that timeline.
Well, that being the case, I'll make a motion, we authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Environs for the engineering work to make improvements to the water treatment plant to convert our secondary disinfectant to chlorines.
I'll second.
Okay. Have a first and second. Discussion?
She had something to say, and let her finish it.
Okay.
Just one other quick thing too. We just recently were awarded through KIA a loan, was granted for the other water treatment plant project that's currently in the budget this fiscal year. And we were really excited that we anticipated getting around a 2.5% loan interest rate, and we ended up getting a 1.75 interest rate. So that's a really good loan interest rate on our money, and will probably save us over $100,000 over the course of that loan. So we're hopeful that we might be able to get that same interest rate through that funding program, provided it's available at the time that we apply.
Yes, Mr. Butler.
That's all.
Okay, first and second, all in favor? Those opposed? Motion's adopted. Okay, let's move on to Castle Cove Phase 4 Water Service Request. I guess you all have seen that. Anyone have a motion?
Okay, I'll do it. I'll make a motion we approve the Castle Cove Phase 4 water service request.
Have a
I'll second it.
second by Councilman Simpson. He had his hand up. I seen him. I heard you. I seen him. Have a discussion. Okay. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion's adopted. There's no HRB, DRB, or planning and zoning correspondence. Let's go down to number 6, a review of the regular city council meeting. If you want to look at that, and if everybody's in agreement with that, I'll take a motion by unanimous consent.
Yes.
If everybody's okay with that, I will adopt a motion by unanimous consent on the regular council meetings on 11/22/2016. Special council meeting, which was B, which was 12/6/2016. If there's no objection, I'll be by unanimous consent to adopt the minutes. Thank you. And the financial report, we have nothing, ordinances, no first reading. We've got a second reading. It's B 2016-16, Luxco Distillery annexation. And Tim Butler.
I'm surprised they don't want to fire up the camera for this one. Summary of ordinance B 2016-16, an ordinance annexing certain territory consisting of approximately 68.344 acres located along the east side of Kentucky Highway 245 corridor running from the existing boundary of Kentucky Highway 245 to and including property owned by LFL LLC located at 3050 East John Rowland Boulevard and adjacent to the city limits pursuant to KRS 81A 400 at Seek. This ordinance annexed into the city of Bardstown, Kentucky, a certain unincorporated territory which is adjacent to the city limits, to wit, a certain tract of land located on the east side of East John Rowland Boulevard, aka Kentucky Highway 245 bypass, approximately 08 miles north of the intersection with US Highway 150 in Bardstown, Nelson County, Kentucky, and more particularly described as follows. Commencing at a set 1/2 inch iron rebar, 1/2 inch rebar with cap stamp Wolf 3742 set rebar henceforth in the east right-of-way line of Kentucky Highway 245 bypass, variable right-of-way, and having state plane coordinates of northing 2178090.30, easting 1733380.05, Kentucky South zone and corner to a tract of land conveyed to Home Team Holdings LLC of record in deed book 483, page 621, and plat cabinet 15, slide 41 in the office of the clerk of Nelson County, Kentucky, thence leaving the east right-of-way line of said bypass and running with the north line of said Home Team Holdings LLC, south 441001, east 54.03 feet to the true point of beginning, said point being a new corner, revised tract 1 conveyed to LFL LLC of record in deed book 517, page 1, and plat cabinet 17, slide 142 in the clerk's office aforesaid, thence with a new division line across said LFL LLC, the following 6 calls: north 233326, east to 28.12 feet to a point, thence north 061122 east 167.64 feet to a point, thence north 233236 east 525.39 feet to a point, thence north 390807 east 146.31 feet to a point, thence north 264128 east 211.27 feet to a point, thence north 031610 east 159.70 feet to a point, a new corner to said LFL LLC in the south line of tract of land conveyed to TEPCO Inc. of record in deed book 245, page 161 in the clerk's office aforesaid, thence with the south line of TEPCO Inc. north 892303 east 931.38 feet to a found sycamore stump on the north bank of the creek, witnessed by a found 1/2 inch rebar with a cap stamped witness 2225, south 600750, east 50.11 feet from the said stump to a corner to TEPCO Inc. with James and Elizabeth Donahue, a revocable trust, lot 60 of Tillamore Estates, phase 2C of record in deed book 472, page 534, and plat cabinet 13, slide 53, and Robert and S. and Robert and corner to Joanne Filietru's lots 58 and 59 of Tullamore Estates, phase 2A of record in deed book 421, page 344, and plat cabinet 10, slide 5, in the clerk's office aforesaid, thence was said lots 58 and 59, south 132447 west 196.35 feet to a found 5/8 inch rebar with the cap stamped Hibbs 2981, corner of said lots 58 and 59, thence adjoining David M. and Elizabeth N. Wheatley's revised lot 56 of Tullamore Estates, phase 2C of record in deed book 440, pages 535, and plat cabinet 11, slide 176 at approximately 182 feet, and Tullamore LLC of record in deed book 414, page 599, and plat cabinet 15, slide 157 at approximately 482 feet, south 50, 2540, east 886.88 feet to a found 1/2 inch rebar with cap stamped Hibbs 2981, corner to Tullamore LLC and a tract of land conveyed to Home Team Holdings LLC of record in deed book 483, page 621, and plat cabin 15, slide 41 in the clerk's office aforesaid. Thence with the west line of Home Team Holdings LLC, south 225356 west, 1,423.84 feet to a found 5/8 inch rebar with cap stamped Hibbs 2981, found rebar henceforth, corner to said Home Team Holdings LLC, thence with another division line across LFL LLC, south 292955 west, 336.61 feet to a point, a new corner to said LFL LLC, and in the north line of the tract of land conveyed to Home Team Holdings LLC of record in deed book 483, page 621, and plat cabinet 15, slide 41 in the clerk's office aforesaid. Thence with the north line of Home Team Holdings LLC, north 714613 west, 166.95 feet to a found rebar, thence north 714613 west, 166.95 feet to a found rebar, thence north 661408 west, 333.75 feet to a found rebar, thence north 430556 west, 248.51 feet to a set rebar, thence north 304858 west, 531.22 feet to a set rebar, thence north 441001 west, 544.25 feet to the point of beginning, having an area of 68.34 acres or 2977056.5 square feet. The above described tract of land is a portion of parcels 1, 2, and 3 as shown on the amended minor plat for John B. and Nancy G. Ballard, not currently within the city limits of record, in plat cabinet 17, slot 142 in the Nelson County Clerk's Office. This ordinance or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect following the publication and summary as required by law. This summary was certified by Timothy Butler, City Attorney.
I make a motion to accept B 2016-16 Luxco Distillery annexation as read. Yield the floor to second.
Second.
I have the first by Councilman Buckman, second by Councilman Copeland. Discussion? All in favor?
We need an individual vote, sir.
I'm sorry. Individual vote. I'll start with Councilman Simpson.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion's adopted. Okay, thank you. Cemetery Committee special meeting minutes. Did you guys review? Do you have any questions? Number 10, no unfinished business. Number 11, we'll go down to number A, which will be the M 2016-16 social media policy for the city of Bardstown. We've talked about this on several occasions. So.
Questions? Yeah, I read it. Somebody refresh my memory on why we're having what's the problem with, who's sponsoring this? Who wants this? Who's asking for it? Who wrote it?
I am.
Okay. What's the problem we're trying to solve here?
A situation that was presented at one of the clerks' meeting where, of course, in regard to records retention and or open records, a situation that may occur in regard to social media, where not only city employees, but also city council, including the mayor, if they should have a social media account and they use it for city business, then of course it's a situation where I have to be aware of it so that records retention can be addressed And also, if an open records were to come in, that we would be able to contact the individual in reference to their, I guess, their program and be able to access it. We don't have a policy for the city of Bardstown in regard to social media, and it is suggested that we have one on the books.
Is this wording from some other,
I got it from the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives.
yeah,
And then, of course, they didn't include Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Tumblr, Instagram, and Flickr at the time.
yeah.
And so there's been others that have been suggested since we started talking about this. But of course, we just say examples of social media, and we just use a few examples instead of listing each and every one of them.
Well, it seems to me we're trying to do two things at once, because we talk about the city of Bardstown websites or Facebook pages,
Mhm.
which is one thing. And then we talk about individuals, how they use Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and so forth and so on. I don't know, it seems kind of muddy to me, because it talks about coordinators of social media sites will monitor the content of the social media sites. The coordinator, I assume, being like a department head. And then it says the city reserves the right to restrict or remove any content. And I'm like, who's the city? If the person who's doing the site is the department head, then who is the city? And to me, it's intermingling. I mean, the city we have a Facebook page, or we have an internet site, we have a website, which is controlled by somebody in the city hall. I'm not sure who controls that, but that's controlled essentially by the mayor, whoever works for you. Somebody in your sphere, and that's not, I can't go in there and put stuff on that. I mean,
But there are people that I think do, and let me give you an example, like the fire department at the present time
yeah.
is getting a social media policy together. And I think if the Chief Urim is at the present time is getting a social media policy together. And this is kind of being grouped in.
Well, if the police department has a website, he's in charge of it. He controls what goes on there. Nobody else controls what goes on there. Correct me if I'm wrong. So,
No,
That
may be
as it
true.
turns out, that might be a little naive, Councilman Hagan, because we had a recent issue here with the Human Rights Commission where they lost control of their own website.
okay,
The person who was the administrator, thank you, was no longer on the board, but so the board didn't have control. So when they went to try to take that down, the only person on the account was that person, and they couldn't take it down.
okay.
So they lost control of their site. What this in part would say the city of Bardstown has control. And so if somebody from the city of Bardstown, if somebody went out and tried to take control or keep control of a website, we could go to one of these sites and say, we have under this policy, we have control. And I don't know how much that would influence them, honestly, based on the trouble we had. We had a lot of trouble with that, and we finally got it resolved. But what we're trying to, I think part of this is to try to do is to say officially who has control. And
that was another same issue that happened at the police department, is that they lost control of their website. And because when people weren't there, they were still in control and they weren't there. And it was hard to shut it down because they weren't in control.
Well, that's why I asked what problem we're trying to solve. And Barbie's trying to solve a records retention, and you're trying to solve a control problem. Those are two separate topics.
But you still have records retention in those websites.
If it's used for city business.
And they actually, the police department does use that as for city business to catch people or to that kind of thing, you know.
it's a blanket thing trying to address all issues that would arise when dealing with social media.
Well,
That is true.
okay, if we have one for the city, wouldn't that cover the fire department and the police department as well?
Yes,
So why would they have to have a separate one?
because they're going to add additional to it in other departmental policy.
Theirs would probably be more specific to what they use it for.
As you've said before, Fred, Facebook is going to be the downfall
Mayor,
of civilization.
I understand the philosophy, but the way this is written, it says everything and nothing at the same time, as far as I'm concerned. It really, it talks about, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about a Twitter account, which the city doesn't have a Twitter account. An entity of people have Twitter accounts. So how are you going to control? We're trying to do two things at the same time. We're trying to control Facebook pages and websites that are controlled by the city, that are developed by the city, and that are used to disseminate information. And then we're talking about social media, which is Twitter and Snapchat and other things, which the city doesn't have a Twitter site. The city doesn't have a Snapchat site. To me, it's two separate things we're trying to do.
Well, what if, Chief Urim, if I can use you as an example, so you're the new one, so we're going to use you. What if he has a Snapchat or a Twitter or whatever those others are,
Yeah.
and he starts making comments publicly about his job or about Bardstown Police Department, and it infers that. I think this policy would allow us to be able to have that for public records. And I think, is that not correct?
That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
And I'm not saying he has that, I'm just using him as an example.
I'm done.
In reference to the councilman's page, how would you get the material from them? What would be the policy to retrieve those documents?
In regard to open records, I'd still have to rely on the councilman to provide those for me.
So would you have the council provide them for you, or would you have the council come in and sit with you to retrieve those records?
I will rely on the councilman to provide the records for me.
Okay.
Mayor, do you want to discuss the other option?
What's that? Which one?
That if they aren't comfortable with this one, we'll just establish one on their office. Do you want to?
I'm not from doctors.
Oh, if they
Go
are
ahead,
uncomfortable with it.
explain that. You explain that.
I know that we've been trying since May of this year to discuss social media and its need for control. And so if the council is uncomfortable with the proposed municipal order, then we have a separate option for the mayor to apply it for city departments only. And he can do that as an executive order without the council's approval. And so we'd like very much to get this on the books for the city employees to get them covered. So if you're unwilling to accept the municipal order as submitted, we already have in place one ready to go by executive order for the employees.
I like that idea.
Well, and understand, it's still open record. You cannot pass, that's the one thing that's really kind of, I think it's a little bit, and I guess I'm old school, it's a little bit frightening that how much we can delve into an individual's life. But if your discussion city business, that's subject to open records, as I've said on numerous occasions. So it doesn't, if you just do cover the employees, it doesn't mean you all are in the clear, just so that everybody's aware.
And again, Fire Chief Walker and Chief Urim are in the process of having one department. It's probably going to be a little tighter. Don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that's what we discussed. So.
Would you like to take this off the agenda, council?
You want to take it off? You want me to do it by executive order, or do you want it? Do you want to vote on it, or how do you want to do that?
I'm very civil, I think.
Can I get a consensus? Ms. Kaufman, how do you want?
Executive order.
Executive order.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Let's move on.
Okay.
M 2016-21, the city vehicle use and assignment policy, if you see that. Again, what's brought this around was for the last year or so, since I've been in office, so that was one of the issues that I wanted to really look at, is the amount of vehicles that we have, the use of the vehicles, who has the vehicles, how they're being used, and where do they go. And it was just a type of management type thing to see how, if we save money, is the vehicles being used in a way that we could save money and not being used correctly. So we covered a broad range of why I was looking at that. So here, and we've come up with this with risk management, Greg Ashworth. He's also looked into it as far as the risk management side of it, the liability side of it, and with him sitting on the board of the risk management up in the Kentucky League of Cities, this is kind of where he's at with it.
If it's all right with the council, I'll just introduce it in regard to purpose and enforcement. We won't need to go in since you all have been informed about it at the working session.
Can we discuss anything, or?
Certainly, during discussion. Municipal Order M 2016-21, City of Bardstown City Vehicle Use and Assignment Policy. The purpose is the operation of vehicles is necessary in conducting much of the city's business. This policy establishes requirements governing the operation of city-owned, leased, or rented vehicles and the operation of personal vehicles while conducting business on behalf of the city. Enforcement of the directives and regulations contained within this policy shall be the responsibility of department directors and the mayor. Such responsibility shall include the development, monitoring, and maintenance of these policies.
I'll make a motion to approve municipal order number M 2016-21 regarding city use of vehicles and assignment policy.
Second motion.
Second by Councilman Bowman. Discussion, now
Yes.
Ms. Copeland.
Yes. Thankful for Greg Ashworth working on this. In reference to the vehicle assignment, within the vehicle assignment, there's fuel cards. Chief, can you make sure that every vehicle has their fuel card in it?
Yes, ma'am, they can't fill up the vehicle at the beginning or the end of shift without that card. And that card
Okay,
is assigned to the vehicle.
Okay, so you have corrected that because
Yes, ma'am.
it was said that they didn't, sometimes the vehicles wouldn't have their cards in there, and that's why they were filling up
Those
2 and 3 times.
vehicles were what we call the pool vehicles.
Okay.
We have a vehicle that's out of service, they'll take the pool vehicle, they do not have cards assigned, they'll use a card from their own
Okay,
vehicle.
so every vehicle, so can we have that in there? Can we put that in there though?
I could
Well-
put it in mine.
Okay.
Because mine's gonna be even more stringent
Okay.
than what the city has.
All right then, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're looking at changing that also. So that will be an update for later on fuel cards. We may not do it like we have been. And as soon as I can get that worked out, I'll let you know about it.
Thank you.
We have first and second, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Those opposed? Motion's adopted. We've already done the syringe access exchange, so let's move on down to city council members' comments, city council travel and training policy.
Okay, I was going to discuss the training policy that we have. However, since it is going to be another calendar year next year, I think it would be appropriate to discuss that starting next year.
Okay. Kentucky League of Cities Officials Academy. I don't know who had that on there.
Councilman Copeland.
Oh,
To the council and the council-elect, the Kentucky League of Cities is offering the City Official Academy, but they also offer other continuous training throughout the year. And I am not a spokesperson for Kentucky League of Cities, but it would behoove the council to take those training classes. When we stop learning, we stop growing. And none of us are better than some of us. And so none of us can be more educated than the other. As a team, we can go forward together and work and make this cohesive. And the Kentucky League of Cities offers these trainings. They're specialized trainings that you go to, and they are interactive. So you're able to speak in these sessions. And they pertain to all cities, not just one in particular. So I'm hoping that Bardstown will become more active in the academies and the conferences and the trainings that they have to offer, because they are good, and we can bring education and training back to our city.
Okay. Let's go to cemetery deeds.
There's another.
I'm sorry, I am so sorry.
Is it my turn? May
Oh.
I? Yeah, I'd like to give everybody an update on the work Tim was doing on the investigation we talked about. I met with Tim yesterday. He sent out a request for quote to 4 attorneys. He received 3. As we talked about in the last meeting, he gave those to me Thursday, Friday. I went over them with him on Monday. And as I said I would, I went through the 3 pretty carefully, compared them to what he'd asked for the bid to be on. One I think is, I picked one I thought was the best. I talked to the fellow today. I called and talked to him. And Tim, he's going to be sending you something by the end of the day, by the way. I talked to him about sending us a sample or a contract that we would sign. The guy's qualified, and his background is in this type of law, elections and city government and those kind of things. He had a pretty short he has pretty short time frame he could do it in. He can't start till January the 9th, but he thought he could. He said he could do it in about a week. Of course, he hasn't gotten started on it yet, but he thinks that shouldn't be a problem. His price is, I hesitate to give the price because it depends on how long it takes, but it's in the $3,500 to $5,000 range. So what I've asked him to do is to send to Tim a proposed contract that would, again, lay out exactly what he's going to do. It's something that we would sign. And he's proposed he could start on January the 9th, and it would be finished by January the 18th, assuming everything went carefully. The way Tim laid this out was really 2 parts. One, as we talked about, was determining if the activity that took place was done by a city employee or an elected official. Does it reach the stage of being illegal, or is it unethical? That's the first piece. And that's a matter of reviewing state law, city law, federal law. And that he feels like he can do in pretty short order, in a matter of days. And then he would come back to us with that information and say, okay, here's what I found. Now what do you want to do, council? So it's kind of a 2-phase thing. So we can, and then he would determine, we would know by then we'd know what the first part would cost, and then we'd have an estimate of what the second part would cost. So what I've asked him to do is send that to Tim, and for you to review it and then you can present it back to us at the next meeting after you've reviewed it and say, yep, it looks okay from your standpoint. We'll know then we can all look at the contract and decide if we want to go forward with it. So that would be at the next meeting. So that's where we are.
So it actually could cost the taxpayers over $5,000.
It depends.
Depends.
He felt like, you have to really think about putting a number on it before the guy gets started. But from what he'd seen and from his experience, he thought he thought $5,000 would be a reasonable assumption.
So, Fred, do you want me to put it on the agenda for under contracts
Yes.
first? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to vote or put somebody else in charge of this investigation since it's ready to be out January 1?
I would say the next meeting, you might want to think about that.
I would suggest that you do that, and if you want to take a vote and do that, but
Well, excuse me, Mayor, it might be better to let the next council vote on it, because they're going to have a meeting on January the 10th.
Well, you're going to have to, we're gonna appoint someone to take your place?
Well, in the interim, Tim's gonna, our motion allowed Tim, excuse me, our motion allowed Tim to actually write the contract. I mean, so, I don't know what's gonna happen between the January the 30th and January the 10th, that we would need a councilman to be,
Well, I don't wanna put words in Tim's mouth, but he said.
Because of the, so what you're saying is since he can't start anyway until the 9th,
right,
no harm, no, is
Yeah,
that what I'm
right.
hearing here?
he's not gonna start till the 9th. That's on the trip, he said if we let him know after the meeting on January 27th, that's enough time for him to put it on his calendar, but he's not gonna start on till the 9th anyway.
You mean
That's as
December?
soon as,
Sorry, December, or you said January?
January the 9th is as soon as,
Or the December 27th meeting, you can look at the contract then?
right.
Okay.
And then we can say, yep, that's what we want to do, and then we can actually sign the contract. And he'll start on January the 9th.
Fred, are you the only one that's seen this yet?
Wait a minute, hang on.
Council member seen?
No, sorry, Bill, can't talk right now on this,
Unless they allow him to.
no.
So that's when we would actually take action, is on the 27th when we get the contract. Or when we get the proposed contract. So that's,
I'll put it on the agenda.
All right.
I have a question then. If we do that, then you leave it open for the next council to come in and they would be able to restart that process, wouldn't they? For attorneys?
I don't understand.
I mean, are we on the 27th voting to accept him?
Oh,
Okay.
or not.
Okay, well,
But now the new council comes in, they can actually vote.
I know they can vote that down and start all over if they want
No,
to.
they can vote it completely down and do away with it altogether.
Well, I'm just thinking of the other, but, okay.
Yeah.
So in essence then, what Fred did is actually like the police committee that looked at applications and we made a recommendation. So that's essentially what Fred has done. He has he has scrutinized them and he has recommended someone for our approval or disapproval. Am I correct in saying that?
Per your authorization.
Yes, I'm just
I mean,
summarizing.
that's one man's opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not in charge.
I understand.
I'm not milking this cow, I'm just holding the bucket, you know? So if you want to, I mean, I thought that's what we wanted to do.
No, I'm just summarizing what
Yeah.
was done.
Well, I need to ask a question. In regard to the contract, will you have hard copies or do you want it on the iPad?
I guess you can put it on the iPad. That'd be fine.
Okay,
I mean, it's gonna come electronically to Tim, so we could send it
Okay.
to you electronically.
then I'll provide it then.
He's gonna have it by tonight sometime. He said he'd send it to you by the end of the day.
And just so that y'all are aware, I'm not gonna try to review it for the substance. I'm gonna review it for the legalities. Yeah. Okay. To make sure that your all's interest is covered, not necessarily to say this is the direction you wanna go in terms of investigation.
Well, if this thing is so close, and I don't understand the rush, I mean, my goodness. The new council's gonna be here within a couple of weeks. And as you said, they could vote it down or accept it or what have you. Why are we rushing to get it done by the first of the year? I don't understand. We've been all this time.
I don't accept the fact that we're rushing it, for one thing. And I'm a city councilman until the end of the year. And I have a job to do, and I'm gonna do it.
I
That's
don't
what I'm
mind doing my job, but, you know, and it's kind of like was mentioned, you like this fellow, okay, or this person, or this document. somebody else might like this one. We could be into a vote next meeting. Whether we want that one or whether we accept the contract from him, I don't understand.
So are you saying that you wanted to view all three and vote on who you thought?
Well, I mean, I'm not doubting Fred's expertise in it, but that's a possibility.
Well, Bobby, what do you want to do?
Please?
What do you want to do?
I haven't heard anything on any of them yet. Other than he didn't want to do the job, he didn't want to be the mediator or what have you.
Well, the one thing that I can say is that I was told to hurry. I was told it was a rush before the end of the year. That's what I was told. So what's the rush? I don't know. You all tell me. I was told, get this done and get this done quickly. And so that's what I did. And I can tell you, I've reviewed the three and they were all good. They were all good. None local. So.
I got a question. And it's just for towards 10th. How legally bound am I after my tenure in 2 weeks to entertain this investigation? On what level? Am I still bound? Is this a KRS investigation? Is this a Bardstown Council witch hunt type investigation, or what the hell is it? Am I bound to, by law, to entertain this investigation in 2 weeks?
You mean if somebody comes to you and asks you questions?
Yeah, tell them to get the hell off my property.
You don't have to answer questions from anybody.
So I don't have to entertain him because it's not a criminal investigation?
Unless you're subpoenaed or.
By a judge?
Yeah, you wouldn't have to talk to a
So
person.
I'm not bound by counsel and all that stuff?
What I would suggest doing is, if you have an attorney whose opinion you trust, I'd ask him that question.
Okay. I'm just kind of curious to see where I stand in 2 weeks. I'm sure some people here that's going to be not here would probably like to know where they stand in 2 weeks too. If I'm obligated to this investigation.
Bobby, I'm gonna go back and ask you, what do you want to do? I'm still not sure what you want to do.
What do I want to do?
As opposed to what we talked about doing at the next meeting. You sound like that you didn't want to go there. I'm just trying to clarify what route you think we should.
Well, it just appears, it's just like I said, it seems like we're just rushing to get this thing done. I don't understand why we're rushing to get it done. And I mean, I don't mind voting on it one way or the other. I don't have no problem with that. I'll give you my vote when it happens. We all voted to have an investigation. But I just don't see why let's investigate. Let him investigate. But you're talking about that it's gonna, if we vote to investigate, what happens January the 2nd or 3rd, and the other council will say, hey, we're gonna throw this out. We don't want to do it. What have we gained? What have we done?
So you want us to do nothing?
I don't mind listening to what we got, what we found out to this point. I don't know any more than I know when we voted to let's have an investigation. Other than we're gonna get a contract, and it may be $2,000 to $5,000, and it may be more, we don't know.
I agree with Fred on one point, that we need to hurry this along. We do, Bobby. You got city employees affected here, you got a gag order, or whatever you want to call it, in effect, impeding the operation in the city. it needs to speed along, get this thing out of the way. Or we dump it in the new council's lap, whichever we want to do. But I'm afraid, let's move this thing along, get it over and get it out of the way. It's,
Well, to answer your question, Bud, you got a plan, you done said what we're gonna do, so let's do it.
Okay.
That's what you want.
And I say move forward too, Fred, because I hate to use the word pack a gate, but we need to go ahead and find out who the perpetrator or perpetrators were. We need to go ahead and have it investigated. I was really hoping to have it investigated before this council ended its term, but that's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
nobody's timeline
yeah, I understand that.
met that.
I understand that.
Okay, let's move on. Cemetery deeds, got Stephanie Crow, one grave site. Guthrie and Julie Wilson, transfer only. Frank and Bridget Wilson, transfer only. Betty C. Wilson, transfer only. Julie W. Garrett, transfer only. And Kathleen Garrison, one grave site. And if it's okay, I'll adopt the motion by unanimous consent. And thank you all. And then Patrick, is it Karen? Karen, okay. Water treatment plant is 20 years anniversary. That's pretty good. And number 15, I'll accept a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Motion's done. Carried.